Didn't you say Mehera did them?
Showed you all some
Yes, but we didn't continue to do that.
You did?
But I must say that almost till the last, Mehera remembered to do them. Because one day, Baba asked her in his room that had she done her exercises that morning. And she says, Baba, there wasn't any time. You called me. He would ring a bell, an electric bell, and the moment that was heard, Mehera would be the first one to come and greet Baba. And after a little while, we would come if we were needed. So when Baba heard that, he says, do them now. She says, now? Yes, right in front of me. And Mehera always remembered that instant. And she, after Baba dropped his body, would do them in the sitting room with all Baba's pictures around her, and remembering Baba and feeling that he was there watching her do them.
If Bob and Jane could perhaps take a moment to speak about their creative union and working together as husband and wife.
Well, in our daily life, we usually don't get into fights, but any fight, any squabble that comes, usually comes when I try to squash out her contribution to a song, or try to write a harmony part that I think she should sing. So as far as the creative thing, I got to be very careful.
One thing is that I don't practice music, and Bob really wants to practice every time we go for a concert. So it's extremely frustrating for him that I don't practice, and I will practice now and then, but only for about 10 minutes. It drives him crazy, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm trying. But I'd rather just show up and open my mouth and hope something comes out. And it's true. Really, we don't fight often. Little tiny fights, daily fights, are there, but it's when we are practicing or trying to write a song together, I really do want to write my own part. And I think you'll all agree with me that I should be able to write my own part, don't you?
She cashed in on you, I can see that. But it is correct, 100%. I should not step on her toes in her creative process. Is that California sounding enough? Is it in code to my... I don't know. Okay.
The problem is he doesn't trust my harmonies until the record's out. And then later on, about 2 years later, he'll say, that sounds really good. And I'll say, yeah, I told you so. Right?
It's true. I just have to let her do it and keep quiet.
Excuse me. It continues.
On the positive side, really speaking, it's wonderful to have somebody here with me to sing at all times, and when my voice is weak, his is strong, and the opposite. And it's wonderful to be able to give something together as a couple, and it's for Baba, and it's been an incredible experience to be married and yet not have our personal life so much the focus, but more singing for Baba. And it's really what I've always wanted my whole life. What?
I want her to tell me. I have this very cute thing that Mehera had said when she went to India, something about, well, Mehera, I'm seeing Bob Brown, etc. And I think she said something about, well, good. He sings and you sing. Good marriage.
You know what happened is I was dating someone else at first who didn't sing. And I was dating Raphael. I don't know if you know him, Rudd. And we had, Mehera encouraged us to break up, sort of, and we were on the verge anyway. But she told me it wasn't my destiny. She felt that, which was a great gift. But what was so adorable about it was that when she found out Bob and I were dating and were thinking of getting engaged, she said, "Well, it's good because Bob sings and Raphael didn't sing." So that's all that mattered.
Yeah. She was very cute. She took a part like that. And Raphael and Jane and I are still very close friends. It's great. Yeah. Thank God. I'd be in trouble.
Wendy?
This is for the Browns. Since LA adopted you, I wanted to know whether or not you were staying, and if you're not, maybe we could just, all come to your place and you could have one big crash.
We're staying until July 13th, but after that we're back to Myrtle Beach, and we don't know what's going to happen after that. But you can come over anytime.
Charles prepped me on, he gave me a brilliant answer to that question. He helps me out in these situations. He said, tell them that the center is your place and you can all come and crash at the center. Actually, our house is tiny. I don't have any spare bedrooms. Fact. No hot tub.
What if you lived in California?
That's right.
Brian, you had a question?
A question for Meheru. Baba, sometimes people around him would participate in tricks and jokes. Were you ever, can you think of one where Baba had you participate, or you participated, or you were the joker or jokey?
I don't think of anything now. Well, I think sometimes the dealings he had to do with all the women in mandali, he had to play some tricks or jokes on them, in the sense that to be able to do what he wanted without raising their sort of the feeling that, not to rouse them, and yet do what he wanted. And I was just thinking one time, I wouldn't call it a joke, but the way he maneuvered it. You see, Baba had taken a few of us to a beautiful place in the seaside down south called Vengurla. Dr. Donkin had found that place, and he had arranged for it, the whole, stay there and everything. And there was a time when Baba was talking about taking us there again. Now, Mehera wanted that Katie should also come there, and Erich's sister Manu. Now, Erich's sister was living in Pune, so that wasn't a difficult thing. It was just Rain told them that we'd be coming to Pune and to be ready, and she'll be coming along with us. But for Katie, living in Meherabad, that if everybody knew and she was chosen and nobody else was, it would rouse a problem that Baba would have to really work out for days on end, so it could continue. So Baba wanted to avoid the whole issue, yet do what Mehera wanted. So it happened in a very natural way, the way Baba did it. Now, Baidu's daughter Daula hadn't been keeping well, and Neelu now and then had said, I think she needs a proper checkup, to go to a medical doctor and all. So Baba didn't ignore it that time. He says, fine. She should go to Bombay, stay with Arnavas, and Katie should go along with her, take her there. So that nobody could object to. And Katie was having a little problem, or, Neelu was supposed to say that she needs to have a checkup too. I guess we all do in some way or the other. But anyway, Katie was to attend to Daula. Everything should be done to her, and then she should spend a short time there in Bombay. After Daula returned to Meherabad. And Katie's checkup should be done then. Well, the moment Daula was sent back to Meherabad, there was someone accompanying her there. Katie was told immediately to come to Pune, meet us there. And her checkup was done in Benburla with Baba, and all of us having a good time there. So nobody was the wiser, and yet Mehera was, Baba was able to please Mehera in that way, like that. So I think Baba had to manage. I think he would often say, it's easier to run the war than to run this whole ashram of women over here.
Betty?
Back to Bob and Jane, I remembered, I hope I have it right, that Jane, you said that Mehera told you two to please each other in your marriage. I remembered it. I think it's really profound. Just wanted to add that.
Yes, one day I was on Mehera's porch, and I was feeling so grateful for everything she had given me, and I said to Baba, how can I ever please you and Mehera? What can I do? And the next day Mehera called me back into her room, and she said, I'll tell you how to please me and Baba. And I hadn't said a word to her. And she said, always give in to your husband. Whatever he wishes, just give him, do what he wants. If he wants to see a certain movie, you go to that movie. And if he wants to do something, he wants to stay home, you stay home. If he wants some certain food, you make it for him. But he should also do that for you. So it was both should really have that in mind. And I just wanted to say one other thing about the singing that came to my mind. That Mehera, whenever Bob would sing a new song, she would always look to me and say, Jane, now you sing something. So she would always make sure we both shared equally, which was very, very beautiful, because I thought she would always say, well, not that she would, but I thought the Eastern way was the wife should just do most of the giving. But no, it came right from her that both should have that in mind, not to assert oneself. She always said that don't assert yourself and what you want. The nobility lies in giving in to the other's wishes, for both of us.
Yeah. I think the fear that a lot of people, particularly mainly in the West, share is that if they do that, will the other one reciprocate and do it also? But I think someone has to take the first step, and it's inspiring. It inspires the other one to do that. It has to be a sharing.
Yeah, Arnavas told me once that one has to take the first step, and even if you go 20 years and you're the giver, it's okay. The other one will take the example from you, and eventually they will give. Just wait. It takes a while.
We have about 15 more minutes, and so if you have questions, a few more questions, we do have a little time to take them. Christina?
This is a question for Meheru. On the new life, the interaction between the men and the women, was it distanced, or was it like a general camaraderie, or was it playful? Or
it was always separate. It was always separate.
Was there any interaction, or was it very specifically kept always separate?
Well, the thing was that Gaver was always the intermediary, the one who conveyed Baba's messages. If there was any communication to make, she did it. But talking of the new life, I'd like to tell you a funny incident that happened. Whenever Baba went to anywhere, Gaver, of course, felt the responsibility of taking care of our health and everything and seeing to it. And if anything amiss happened, she always had to inform the men mandali who were also stayed behind. And Dr. Neelu would be there. Vishnu, Kaka wasn't well, he was there. This was in Dehradun when we were there in the new life. So we always felt that Gaver was a little tense about the whole situation, that she felt that responsibility very much. So we thought we'd play a joke on her. Let's play a joke on her. But Baba wasn't in it. So we said, because of that feeling, Mehera and we all in it, and Mani decided that she would dress up as a sadhu and come to the gate and ask for bhiksha. See, why we took it as late in the evening was because in that half light, you could just see and not, see details about it. So, we sort of arranged that Gaver should be occupied in somewhere else. So Mani, meantime, got up her dress, her makeup, and she stood near the boundary and started calling out for bhiksha. So we drew Gaver's attention and we said, Gaver, this sadhu is very persistent. Look at him coming in the evening like this. Do you think we should do it? And Mani, she could, play up anything. She went through that whole act of doing it. And then she kept coming nearer and nearer. And Gaver was saying, no, forgive me, you're not supposed to, without telling her outright that but go somewhere else, there's all women here and trying to stop her from coming. And Mani kept coming in. And Gaver got more excited and really scared, and her voice was changing. And in the end, we felt that she was on the point of doing some bodily harm to Mani if she can. And what made her more scared was she was telling Mehera to go inside, that she'll manage to treat the whole thing, but we weren't going to miss it, we were going to watch the whole show. So before anything happened, we sort of let her know that this is money. But she was really taken and we had a good laugh over it. And it was really true that she was, thinking, well, he's a skinny fellow, I'm quite sure I'll be able to overpower him or do something about it.
Rosalie?
Meheru, what were the times like when you went out with Mary and you had to shield her? She couldn't see men. Were you with her then?
We traveled when just a few of us were traveling. We had to shield her in a crowded place. She knew exactly where she was going, and we had to see exactly where, to go make space for her through the crowds. And to try and surround her and allow nobody to touch her by mistake or anything like that. And we managed it. It seems impossible now, but we did it then.
My question's for Meheru. I'm curious, there must have been a lot of people begging from you as you traveled around India with Baba. And what was the general rule in giving money to people who were begging? And how were the homeless, how were they supposed to be treated?
Exposed to that. We were not really exposed to that. But Baba himself would sometimes, ask. Sometimes even that person was just standing there and not asking. And Baba would often tell the men mandali, see that he receives and give a certain sum of money to this one or that one. And if they were begging, Baba always asked that they should be fed. In those days, they would ask for food or things. And sometimes we wondered why this person who didn't even look like a beggar, but maybe Baba knew so much better, or it was something that Baba needed to give, that contact with him. So he would do it through a very natural means like that.
Well, time has flown. One more question, is that what you're saying, Michael? Time has flown, and we have an opportunity for one more question from the audience or one final statement from each of our guests. Shall we go for the final closing statement from each of our guests? We'll start with Charles.
The whole weekend has been so special for me. I wanted to say that. Though we don't all get to talk individually to one another, it seems as though somehow we've individually touched, at least I feel that, so many of our hearts have touched. And that's something that only is possible because of Baba. Elizabeth always used to say she'd look around the table with all of us crowded around at Christmas or something, a very diverse group. She'd always look around, and some of her family would be there and others, and she'd look around and say, well, we should always remember that we wouldn't be here together if it wasn't for Baba, if it weren't for Baba. Baba has brought us here. She said, we may not even want to know each other if it weren't for Baba. And so that meeting on that ground is, of course, the deepest ground to meet on, whether we're different personalities or different lives we live in the world. When we come and meet on his ground, we are united as one. And it isn't, to me, in my experience, is just a little experience, but it isn't any different to me than the East-West gathering when all the people were together with Baba, and Baba united all those hearts as one. The feeling was of oneness. Different religions were there, races, ethnic groups, Westerners, Easterners, male, female, all were there, and there seemed to be a oneness. It wasn't superficial. It wasn't pretending to really be one. And we were all different, and Baba didn't have us conform and dress alike or act alike. But underneath all of our differences, there was a oneness that only Baba could bring about. Only Baba's love could do that. And that's the experience of this weekend for me, that the connection that each of us have with one another is possible because of Baba. And I wanted to also say because it's better for me to say something Baba has said, because that is where all the wisdom comes from. And Baba, because so much of this weekend has had to do with trusting Baba for me and talking about that and how we can live with Baba as we've talked about it in different forums and places. And I wanted to share these words from Baba because, going back to the earlier question of carrying with us this, Baba gives us such assurance that he will be with us in our lives, as Meheru has said. And two quotes, brief quotes from Baba. Baba says, You have no idea of my love and compassion, which sustains your very being. In love is infinite compassion. And whatever happens is already tempered by compassion. And the second quote, that these I carry with me because it helps me to carry the peace of Baba with me, Georgina. Uproot all doubts and remember well that whatever I do is for the best. All my actions are my divine response, born of divine love. And that's a guarantee from Baba. Jai Baba.
I guess I could say something that just came into my mind now. It's almost continuing a little bit on Charles's theme, and that is that I see not only this weekend, but a lot of my life, I work at the center in Myrtle Beach, and all I see is people hugging each other with love. And it comes back to me clearly when I see a Baba film. It hits me really clear that he started that whole process. If you look at most of these films, he's hugging people. Whether it's the East-West gathering or even earlier. Baba himself started this whole thing of beautiful embracing of people. And so I want to acknowledge him, that he started this beautiful love process that we're all sharing in. And it's easy to sort of forget that, speaking for myself.
I want to say first that song that I sang this morning, it was Baba's words, and it was a response to a letter that Katie had written to him. So I just wanted you to know that. And second, I wanted to say again how grateful I am for having been invited here. We were really dying to come here, especially especially with Meheru. It means so much because she brings the whole of Meherazad garden with her and all the memories and all our, we all grew up on that porch basically. I know I did. And she and all the women, mandali and Baba, through them have shaped us through the years into women and men. And I'm deeply grateful to be here with her especially. Jai Baba.
One little thing. I'm sure you've probably seen it throughout the times we've been up here and with Meheru up here. There's something really sweet about Baba's little providing of a familiarity with, you have these little bugs here that fly. Just like on Meherazad, on Mehera's porch, and obviously Mehera and Meheru going like this. And it brings it back to me. It's a little slice of Meherazad here. Right? You've noticed it, haven't you?
Meheru?
Well, I would often say that Baba would make the possible almost impossible to do, and the impossible he'd make so possible. And this is how I feel it is over here, my being here. And yet Mehera, when she would meet all the people coming there, drawn there by Baba's love, she would say, this is the miracle of Baba's love that we see. We don't have to see greater things. When we see all of you all collecting in India like that, we feel it's the miracle of Baba's love. And for me, I'm seeing it here today also. And remembering how Baba in the early Meherabad days, at least for me it was the time when I'd come to stay with Baba, that he would often in the evening have everybody sit around him and just chit-chat, just be in his presence. And he would always notice, people were relaxed, but he would notice if someone was inattentive. And he might take a tiny little grain from the ground and just flick it at that person with perfect aim. And he would say, what are you thinking about? Why do you let your mind go elsewhere? When you are with me, be with me. You have no idea how fortunate you are to be with me like this. You will know it later on. Later on you'll see it. And to be with Mehera. And I feel at how compassionate and loving Baba was, that he allowed Mehera to be there, knowing what suffering she would go through the separation, to be there for all of you to come, to be with her, to know of her life with Baba. And today also I feel both of them are very present here, and that each one is being here for Baba as he wanted you all to be. Jai Baba.
Dun
God.